Welcome to the Twitter Blue Room. Catherine Murphy here, and I'm joined by Australian Ben Graham, famous for, you like the koala, and famous for playing two codes, AFL with Geelong and also an NFL punter, an incredible achievement. Now Ben, I'm glad you obviously missed the koalas when you lived in America. You can put them on your knee.
Oh, thank you.
I was going to ask you to choose, but that's perfect. Ben, you're here at the tennis, back home, living in Australia. How good is it to be out at Melbourne Park?
Oh, it's fantastic. I make a point every year coming along. Haven't missed it now for about 20 years. Bring the kids, they love it. And it's just such a great vibe. You know, you can watch some tennis, you can walk around the garden, you can, take the kids into the ballpark. It's fantastic. But it is good to be home. Lived overseas for 8 years, so back where we belong.
Are you a tennis addict, a tragic? Like when you leave here and you've had a good time walking around the courts, are you back at home watching it on TV?
I actually am. Yeah, I played tennis growing up, and obviously come to the tennis a lot, so I do love it, and I do watch it. But especially when we travelled around the world, when we lived in America, we'd always go to the US Open and other tournaments, so I guess you could call me a tragic, yes.
You have had an incredible career, historic career, captaining both an AFL side and an NFL side. And when you look back and reflect on that, I suppose, what are you most proud of?
Well, it's a great question because when I was growing up, I really only had an ambition to play AFL. So to captain Geelong and play there for 14 years was something that I was extremely proud of, and the fact that I could retire on my own terms really meant a lot too. But then to get the opportunity to punt in the NFL was something that I didn't dream of, but once it became a reality, it was really very, very special. The adventure that we went on was amazing. And I guess to captain the New York Jets and the Cardinals was, I guess, a sign of the respect that my teammates and my peers held for me over there, making the transition from Australian rules to the NFL. So it was great. The 8 years that we spent in America was just absolutely phenomenal. We had some great times. I'm sure we did have some low patches there where I played for a few different teams and struggled at times, but all in all, it was just a fantastic experience.
And playing in a Super Bowl isn't a bad achievement either. Can you even put into words what that is? It's almost the biggest show on earth at that time.
Well, growing up in Australia, the AFL Grand Final was the biggest show on earth in our world. We did know the Super Bowl from watching it on TV, but until you actually play in it, you realise it is about 10 times as big as the AFL Grand Final. Now, I never want to disrespect that because it is the biggest sporting event in Australia, but the Super Bowl with billions of viewers around the world, the TV audience, the money that's generated, the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl that they need just to prepare for it, it's huge. And it was an amazing experience.
And the headlines around it, the headlines and all of the focus being on you and the headlines back home, just like the Australian players here at the Open, Kyrgios, Tomic, really generating the front pages and front page news. How do you deal with that, and what advice would you give to them?
Well, it's another great question. You're right, the Super Bowl, it has those 2 weeks leading up to it, but on the Wednesday before, it's Media Day, where the world's media come and congregate and want to learn about each of the individual stories. So you have a platform to tell your story. For those guys that play tennis, obviously they're very high ranked in the world. They've already told their story, so now it's just about being true to themselves and working hard and setting a good example for the young kids coming up through the sport. But they'll find their feet. The fact that they're a little controversial here and there is fine by me. They probably are being true to themselves. I don't know them personally, but I think over time they'll become great advocates for tennis and for Australia.
On the tennis tour, let's look at your pick for the players who would be most likely to be successful in the NFL. Now, not an easy transition. In fact, I interviewed Milos Raonic, and he has spent some time at Melbourne AFL Club with the Aussie Rules players, and he was like, I would never want to play a game where someone 3 inches away from me can just smash me. So we might rule him out. Anyone else on the tour that you might?
Well, the first position I look for is a quarterback. So you need someone pretty smart, and I see Novak Djokovic as being a smart cookie. So he'd be my quarterback. Roger Federer, I'd probably have coach because he's very experienced, very mature. I'd look at someone like Nishikori. It's fast, agile. Might be able to get him in there as a third back or a wide receiver. Joe Wilfried Tsonga, tight end, maybe quite tall, athletic. Hopefully he's got good hands. I'll probably throw Serena Williams in there if I can.
Wow, why not?
American, knows the game. Probably has the ability to mix it up a bit with the boys, maybe a running back position. So I'm sure that there's plenty of NFL fans amongst the tennis fraternity, but it would be great to see you get the helmet on.
Well, the players will really appreciate you thinking they're completely multi-talented. Before you go, we're going to get a couple of sets of tips. You tip for the Super Bowl first.
Right. Well, it's coming down to the conference championship game. So I actually like Green Bay to beat the Falcons to go into the Super Bowl, although the Falcons have had a great year, so it wouldn't surprise me if they made it. But I think the Patriots will win this weekend, and then they'll win the Super Bowl whoever they play. They're just Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, they're just an unbelievable organisation, so they're my tip.
Okay, and the Australian Open, we want you to pick a winner in the men's and women's draw. We're making you work hard here.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'd like to see Roger Federer win just for old time's sake, just for the oldies in the room.
That's your heart.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But Andy Murray's playing some great tennis, and I'm glad to see he's finally been able to, reach the pinnacle. So those two will play off. I think. I hope Roger wins. And the girls, my son fell in love with Angelique Kerber last year when he met her backstage.
You met her. What was she like?
Great. She was lovely. So for her to go on and win it last year was just great for us, him. So I'd hope that she will win again.
Well, they are two good picks. Ben, we so appreciate you coming to visit us. We hope you enjoy the rest of the tennis. Thank you for joining us in the Twitter Blue Room. We'll be back with more interviews soon.